So, to people that don't know, this is Bellator UFC veteran, former world Britain's strongest man. And right now, don't know, are you continuing your career?
Yeah, I'll continue.
He's continuing.
Basically, my situation at the moment is I had a knee surgery 4 months ago. So it's taken me out for a while. I'm just getting back to full fitness now. So looking to come back to action in pretty soon.
Okay, so let's get into this. So how long right now, obviously you're 41, what do you want to do with the rest of your career, and how long would you say you have left of it?
I mean, anything can change as far as in 6 months I could have a different viewpoint. But as things stand now, I see myself fighting indefinitely, just until I will fight until I can't perform anymore to the level I want to fight at. I want to fight on big shows against big opponents for big purses. And when my performance level won't allow that, I won't need to retire because there won't be anyone offering me money anymore.
Would you say your body is still in a good condition?
Yeah, I mean, I still go to the track and set the best times from everybody, the young guys, old guys. I'm still lifting the weights more than everybody else. I'm still sparring and still beating everybody for speed, for endurance. I'm still getting better when I can train properly again. So my age hasn't been something that's affected any performance up to now. When it does at some point in my life, it will affect my results, and my results will make me decide what I want to do. But you know what? Doing this is the love of my life, so I'm not going to give it up when I can still do it and do it well.
Obviously, I was looking through your career. You're one of the most seasoned veteran heavyweights I've seen. You fought in almost every country I could think of off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say your best win in your career is?
The best win, you know what? I'm going to give you two answers. So the best win as far as the prestige and the moment was probably 2015 New Year's Eve in Japan, when I was at the end of the Grand Prix tournament, when I knocked out Fernando Rodriguez in the first round in a real good comeback knockout, and took the title there. That was probably the biggest as far as the timing of it and how it's biggest to everybody else. But the biggest win to me probably was when I beat Mark Potter early in my career. Mark Potter was a guy no one would fight. No one would agree to fight Mark Potter when I fought him. The only person would do with me, and I wasn't even sure about doing that myself. He was so dangerous, and you know what? He didn't really. I think he had one more fight after that, and then didn't fight anymore. So he's not someone that the international fans and even the UK fans, all of them, will know about. But he was a very, very high-level British pro boxer that came into MMA and was really hurting people. And I'm really proud of the fight with Mark. Mark's a friend of mine now and someone I respect a lot. I'm really proud of the performance because it was textbook and it was all done down to a T. And it looks very simple in the video, but the preparation was anything but. It was horrific and very, very hard. So for my own personal satisfaction, Mark Potter fight, but it's not known as the biggest one to the general public. Also, sometimes some of the names that I've fought and beaten, especially in 2015 particularly, is my sort of most successful year, if you like. Some of them names have been beaten several times since then. But when you look at someone's record, one of the important details is when you beat somebody and what was happening for them at that time. You know, I've beaten a lot of guys who've been unbeatable for a few years, even never lost or haven't lost for a long time. So that's the details to look out for to know a great win. Like if I beat somebody who's won his last 10 fights, it means a lot more than another guy that beats him 2 fights later after that. Because when you're winning MMA, winning becomes easy. When you're not winning feels like it's impossible. So it's all like form.
So obviously we spoke about your best win. Now, what would you say? Is there any fights you've had where you believe you could have won, you could have pulled it off? Like, let's say your worst regret in MMA in a fight.
I got so many of them. I ain't got time to tell you all of them, but I regret every single loss but there's a few of them that are legit. Like my last fight with Sergey Karatanov was a good fight. I just got caught with that money shot. I just got caught with a bomb on the face, and it just I can accept that because what can you do? I take that shot 10 times and none of them I'm fine. One of them you just land on that spot. You know what? There's fights I regret, but it's more like situations behind the fight, behind the scenes, that cause me to. I'm kind of like a temperamental and emotional guy, so if something's not right, it can affect me sometimes, and I can be hit and miss, unpredictable. But as far as one fight that I'm very regretful for, I mean, I regret my fight. I regret both of my fights in Bama because I just didn't want to be there. I hated being there, and I didn't prepare or perform at all. And I wish I hadn't done it for a lot of reasons, but I did, so I accept that. But I'm gonna forget Bama because that was just stupid. I'm gonna say my second fight in UFC when I fought Phil DeFries was very regrettable because it was a fight that I really was supposed to win, and my preparation, for reasons out of my hands, was horrendous. But I've always, if you actually looked into what everybody has got around them and what they make of what their situation is, I've got probably the least resources of any UFC fighter ever in history. I train locally in a seaside town with my friends. I rarely travel. I just use the people that I've got and I've got faith in. They're good people, but I'm saying my resources are very small, and I'm always pushing the boundaries. And sometimes you hit roadblocks along the way when you haven't got all the resources that help make someone a top fighter.
So we spoke about your worst regret. Let's go on to one more thing. What was your hardest fight?
My hardest fights?
Where you had to dig deep. The most you've had to
Well,
dig deep in a fight.
I won.
Or lost.
Okay. I'm gonna say my first fight in Poland was KSW. So I'd just been released from the UFC and I was just coming back. I had one easy fight after I got out, and then KSW offered me a deal. So I went to KSW and I basically fought the guy called Karol Bedorf, who was champion there afterwards for quite a few years, and he was untouchable for a long time. He lost a few recently, but up to that point, like I said, it's form. And I went over there. It was it was great. I loved it, but a really big crowd in Warsaw, in a stadium. And my first experience of the KSW walkouts and the whole show they make it's really good. I love it. And but I never had my leg. Basically, I've never had my leg kicked before, really, in sparring or anything in fights. I didn't really even know how to deal with it. I didn't even start learning to strike until I got in the UFC. I didn't even start doing any learning to strike at all. I just sparred and grappled. And so soon after, like maybe a couple of years later, and I'm just getting a bit better. But the first round, basically, Karol just stormed in throwing leg kicks. And he chopped my leg the first time, boom. And the crowd were like, ooh, big noise. And in my head, I was like, oh, it's nothing. That's nothing at all. Half a minute later, I'm moving about, boom, my leg again. The crowd, ooh. And I'm like, why are they making so much noise? These leg kicks don't even do anything to me. They don't work on me. And then half a minute later, boom. And I step back, I'm like, that tickles a little bit. That does tickle a little bit. I can feel that. It feels a bit strange. And then the next one comes in, boom, and my leg just collapses. I collapse to the floor. And I managed to jump up and back away, and I'm like, wow, my leg's really hurt. And I thought to myself, you know what, I've got to stand south or left-handed because I need to get my left leg away from him. I thought, but if I do that, if I do that, he's going to see it and he's going to be happy. And I thought, but you know what, I've got to do it because if he touches that leg again, I'm going to pass out. I feel like I'm going to pass out. The pain was so much. So obviously he killed me that first round. He was storming and killing me. I was bleeding everywhere. And then I sat in the corner, and the crowd was sensing that he was about to kill me. And I was nearly finished. I sat in the corner, but I was fit. I was so fit. So I sat in the corner bleeding, blood coming out of everywhere. And my corner were like, "Oh, you all right?" Like, the cut man's on my head. I'm like, "I'm fine." So I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Totally fine. So I'm loving it. And I felt good. I felt fine. I felt like I'm going to do this still. I looked up, and Carol was in the other corner on his stool, breathing like on a ventilator almost. You know, he was like, and I hadn't touched him all round. I called him. I shouted to him. I remember now. I sat on my stool. I looked up, and he was looking down. So I shouted, "Carol, Carol," and he was like, wouldn't look up. I was like, "Carol," and he looked up slowly. And I shouted along the lines of, "I ain't done yet. 2 rounds left." He looked at me. He sort of shook his head and put his head down like, and then I was pumped up. Like, he don't want to do this. So round 2, we had a good round, quite close. He might have stole it. It was quite close. And round 3, the last round, I took him down and beat him up the whole round in his guard. And he got the decision, rightly so as well. Rightly so, he got the decision. But he couldn't even get up after the fight. He was so knackered, and I was doing press ups and messing. And yeah, so basically, it was just like there's a lot of courage and a lot of good spirit involved in just getting to the end of that fight. And if I had another 2 rounds, even with my dead leg, I'd have killed him, to be honest with you. And the next day I flew home. I had to get wheelchairs through the hospital because I had a black leg, I had a cracked rib, and cuts and stitches all over my face. But it was one of them ones. That's one of them losses where you can be proud of yourself, just not because of the technical performance, but just because of you showed who you were.
To people that ain't English, that's what we call British toughness, right?
Yes.
There.
Yes.
Only a British man can have that sort of toughness.
Thank you.
So, what's your favorite location you've ever fought in? Because as I said before, you've went to so many countries. What would you say your favorite country you've gone to is?
That's easy. That's easy. Tokyo, Japan.
Tokyo, Japan.
Love it. I went there 3 times in 2000. I've been there 3 times. 2015, won all 3 times, and I'm desperate to go out there again. Maybe Rising, something like that. I really want to go out again. I love Tokyo. I love the culture. I love the place. I love the shows. I love the atmosphere. We fought in a sumo hall. Everybody sat, apart from the ringside seats, everyone sits on the floor. They've got like a little square where you sit on the floor.
Little mats and
Yeah. And it's just amazing. The crowd are really appreciative of what you do. You know, when you're English, one thing you find out, as much as you said British toughness, but there's pros and cons to it. When you're English, a lot of people, as you will know, everyone knows, a lot of people don't get behind you. A lot of people will cheer against you. That's just another sort of cultural thing we do over here. So not everyone gets behind you. Some people do, some people don't. They don't always appreciate. If you do well, some people don't like it over here. But in Japan, everybody gets behind you and makes you feel like you feel like a superstar. And it makes you want to perform for them, and it brings out the best in you.
So, as we said, you've gone to so many countries. You've also fought in maybe as many promotions as countries. What is the best promotion you've ever fought in, or best experience in a promotion?
Best experience is still the Japan IGF, but it wasn't really because of the promotion, really. It's just because of the whole experience. It wasn't, the promotion didn't really do anything special. They were cool, but nothing amazing. But the UFC was great. My experience wasn't great because of my own circumstances. But the UFC's treatment and what they did for me and when and how they conducted their business, my experience, and I can only talk from my experience, was that they were model pros and miles ahead of anyone else I fought for.
Do you know how you fought? Obviously, you know, but you fought Sergey Karatov in your last fight. Recently, yesterday, he fought another one of your former opponents, Chet Congo. Have you watched that fight?
No, I've read about it. I've read the results because obviously I know Czech reasonably well. We spent time together quite a bit, and obviously I fought Karatonov last year, so I had an idea of how the fight would go before it went. Who
did you think was going to win?
I thought that Congo would just shoot, and then maybe get to the mat. When he gets to the mat, he's quite good good at grinding out the win there. But I also thought he'd be quite scared of Sergey's power in his hands because he's not got a very good chin. If he gets hit, he will usually drop if he gets hit hard. And from what I read, it seemed to pan out that way. Sergey was landing some shots from what I read.
In round one.
But he's not got a good chin, but he's tough. He's tough. He got a strong will. And he came back and got the choke. So as much as me and Sheik aren't obviously talking friends now, I still got a lot of respect for what he does.
Another one of your opponents, Ante Delija, I think that's how I say it. He
Yes,
also
Ante, yeah.
he won this weekend and he's gone to the PFL finals. How would you rate his skill sets? And are you surprised that he made it in the PFL that far?
Yeah, Ante's someone I rate a lot, and he's someone that when we message quite a lot, so we got a lot of respect for each other. I know he does some things very well. And he fought Dennis Goltsov, who I really rate. I rate Dennis Goltsov. I think that he's. I've always been watching him for a few years now, thinking this guy has got a lot of good tools and a big guy. And I didn't necessarily have Ante as a favorite. Yeah, he wasn't the favorite. He wasn't the favorite. You wouldn't say he's the favorite.
He was a big underdog.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's fair to say that. But I haven't seen the fight, but I just watched it. I saw the result and immediately messaged Ante and said, "Oh, huge win, great win. Really happy for you." And I am, because he's very talented. It's hard for me to make a judgment from my own experience with him because I don't know if you know, but when I fought Ante on the Saturday, I took the fight on Thursday night.
Is it 2 days?
Yeah, I got a call Thursday night saying you want to fight Poland, Croatia in the morning. I said, "What's the money?" Blah 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 blah. And I flew out the next day, missed the weigh-ins because I wasn't early enough, and then fought him on Saturday, and I hadn't even really been training for anything. So no excuses, but that's just my own situation. That's what it was.
Yeah, that must have been horrible.
Ante's too good for that, but I'm sure we would have a very good. If we had a spar both in good condition, it'd be a lot of fun. And I've got a lot of friends in Croatia, so it's a good possibility that I'll go over there and do some work with Ante.
You must have been jet lagged to go in there 2 days. It must have been. How
Yeah.
would you what would you say was the reason it couldn't have been as good as it could have been?
Well, I mean, if I was in a situation where I was staying ready rather than getting ready, like a good pro would be, right? Then I'll be ready. But I wasn't. I was just training a little bit and just having a relaxing time before something comes up. So, but I don't really shy away from a challenge. And you know, when your career's going really well, like really successful, opportunities come flying at you. You don't have to take any risks. You can be very careful and astute about how you make decisions. But when a fighter is not doing badly, but when he's in the sort of grey area in the middle, sometimes you got to gamble on yourself. You've got to take a risk. And when you take risks, gambling is not good, is it? Gambling is not good. You lose more than you win sometimes. But
I know that firsthand.
Yeah, for sure. But it's knowing when to do it and what the stakes are, and making sure that your guarantees are good. You know, if you bet on a long shot horse, you bet £1,000, you're going to lose your £1,000 most of the time. If you bet a long shot horse, but you make sure the bet is £10, and if you lose, it's okay. At the same time, I made sure I negotiated a deal that worked for me, that if the risk doesn't pay off, that I still have that reassurance of the terms are favourable. And yeah, I don't regret it, but I didn't give the fans or Ante the fight that I could have. It's a tough fight, even if I'm in my best shape ever. So don't get me wrong, but obviously I can be a lot better than that. But I've taken like two handful of fights on very late notice against very good opponents, Ante being one of them.
Also, this is probably a few months ago. Matt Mitrione, he got cut from Bellator after losing, I believe.
Has he cut? Okay, I'm not sure.
He's been cut from Bellator.
Okay.
What do you reckon he should continue fighting? Because obviously he's at this point he's old. You fought him when he was 39, I believe.
Yeah.
What would you rate it? You probably won't remember. What would you rate? How would you rate Matt Mitrione as a fighter in general?
Well, yeah, I like Matt. I like Matt, and I rate him. Again, I hate to sort of keep going over the same stuff. But I fought Matt on 3 weeks notice as well. I don't know if you've seen the fight. My fight, man. Have you seen the fight? My fight, man.
You haven't seen. It's alright if you haven't seen the fight.
Have you seen the fight? Me and Matt. Me and Matt. Have you seen that fight?
Yeah, I've seen you and Chet Congo and you and Matt Mitchell because I don't really all the other promotions. Obviously, they're hard to.
Yeah. So
Watch.
if you see the my fight with Matt, basically you can see I hit him with some really lot of really good shots. But by the end of it, I was just so tired. I didn't have gas for the whole fight because I didn't have time to prepare. So I definitely feel like I could have done really well with Matt off of a good preparation. But again, it is what it is, and he's the winner, rightly so. I rate Matt. It's like I said earlier, in MMA, in combat sports, when you're winning comes easy. When you're not winning seems like it's impossible. It's all form. Form makes it so easy, so simple. And where Matt lost a couple of fights that maybe could have gone either way, one of them being a knockout to Karatonov, then maybe your confidence gets knocked and you're not quite the same. And then more losses come off that. And now he's lost 4 in a row, right? I think he's lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So that's a shame. But you know what? He's still a name that's been in the UFC and been in Bellator. He's been very successful. So he's still going to get some of these Russian companies and stuff, but maybe even PFL offering him good money to go and fight people that he can beat. So I don't see any reason why he needs to stop. I've got a lot of time for Matt, but I'd love to get the opportunity to fight him again.
Last of all, on opponents you fought before, right now one of your opponents is having a lot of success in your former promotion, KSW, Phil DeFries, I believe that's what you said. He's champion right now.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, in the UFC, obviously you fought him. How would you rate his skill set as a fighter as well? Because obviously you fought all these good fighters. I just want to pick your brain on how they were.
I mean, it's difficult. When I fought Phil, we put on what you quite call a shit show. It was a stinker for the fans and probably for me and him. Like I said, my preparation was just, I could do a whole episode on what happened, but I don't want to bore everybody. I bore myself with it. He wasn't at his best. He would, in all honesty, and I'm a big fan of Phil's, and Phil is right now UK #1, and rightly so. He deserves to be. He's on an amazing run. He's just a great guy, very talented guy. So anything I say is all just related to the fights and how it pans out. But when I fought him, I should have beaten him. I should have been in the right state of mind. He was there for the taking, and mentally I should have had the edge because he wasn't positive on the day. But for my own reasons, I was even less positive, and I don't think I could have beaten anybody that day. I don't think I could have beaten whoever you put in front of me. I wouldn't have had much chance of beating. I had the most horrendous experience of a camp ever. Which, if you check out my Instagram, Oli Thompson _fit, you'll see. We're going to do some stories soon. And I'm going to try to tell the full story. So some of the people to check out. I'm going to do a few podcasts on there as well about some of these experiences because I like to moan. So I'm just going to do lots of moaning podcasts.
Well, you've got a lot of experience, obviously, so people would love to hear it most likely. Yeah,
we've got some great stories, and me and my good friend, sparring partner Ahmed, we're going to create some podcasts and talk about some of our experiences and also just some general combat sports situations. And it's gonna be a lot of fun, so check it out. But yeah, back to Phil. Yeah, Phil was an incredible run. Again, when you're winning, you can't be stopped. And he's really gone to Poland and just cleaned up and really exposed everybody. Starting off with, he fought the guy like Bellator that I fought. Obviously, he fought him a better time than what I did, but he still wanted to do business. And that is what it is. And he's a champion there, and he deserves his rating right now. And I'm really happy for him. I'm really not happy with our fight. Was from my perspective, and probably both of us was terrible, and he got me cut. And at the time, I was happy to be cut because my situation was just not right. I needed to sort of re-up and regenerate and start again. So yeah, the question is, I think Phil's got to a point where he's worked out what he does well, doesn't do well. He's not as emotional as I am, as far as I'll get something that I want to do that I think will be fun, and I want to do it in a fight, even if it's a really bad idea. Probably the coach's nightmare. Phil goes out there and fights a very intelligent fight, and he just does what he can do well, and keeps to it and keeps to it and keeps to it. And even if you think it's boring or you don't think it's good, he grinds it out and he gets them wins. And he's doing well. He's conditioned well for the 5-round title fights now. He knows his pacing and he paces it well. And yeah, really happy for him. Really happy for him.
What would you rate as a high accomplishment? The belt you won in MMA or winning Britain's Strongest Man?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Put you on the spot a bit with that one, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a difficult one. I didn't see it coming. You know what? I'm gonna say Britain's Strongest Man. I'll tell you what. For me, I was speaking to some guys the other day about this, and for me, Britain's Strongest Man and World's Strongest Man, the 2 titles. I didn't win Worlds, obviously, but I won Britain's. Come here for Worlds. When the other day I saw a list on the internet, on Instagram. It was a list of every year the World's Strongest Man winner every year. I looked at that list and I thought, imagine being on that list. I wish I was on that list. Like, because when you're on that list, you're on that list forever. Like, it's the same thing with Britain's Strongest Man, but obviously smaller scale. To me, when you're Britain's Strongest Man winner, you're always Britain's Strongest Man. You're Britain's Strongest Man forever. My World's Strongest Man, you're World's Strongest Man forever. It don't matter if you win one World's Strongest Man 10 years ago. You can still meet somebody and say hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I'm World's Strongest Man. Just, you're always there. So I think that stands the test of time more, whilst the MMA titles represent a moment in time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense because that will go and someone else will basically replace you. World's Strongest Man, you can always say I was the best in a whole country.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't mean I was happier. I might have been happier with the belt, So I got paid more for MMA than I do for strongman, believe me. But it's not about money and achievement are different.
Would you say you've got well paid in MMA? I don't want to go into your like financial with your different promotions. Would you say UFC, Bellator, they all paid you well? Or have you had any problems with pay?
They paid me well. UFC was my first fight. Excuse me. First fight, I got a bonus. So Dana just sent me a little random bonus, which was sweet. It was a surprise. The second one, obviously, I didn't win. I didn't deserve a bonus. And I paid my visa fees, my medical fees, and my American tax. And I ended up with $800.
From the fight?
Yeah. And then once I didn't ask them, without even paying my manager, obviously that ended up being about £500.
So 500. And how much were they paying you, like flat?
The rate was 8 plus 8, I think. 8 plus 8.
So 8 if you show up, 8 if you win.
But yeah, basically back then, when you wanted to get your working visa for America, they just make you get a 2-year one. So if you fly again, you've got a 2-year. So it's expensive to get a 2-year visa. Basically, my money got whittled down with different expenses and stuff like that, and it's basically down to very, very little. So the money wasn't good, but the potential was there if I won fights. So that was what it was. The Bellator money was good. But Bellator basically was paying me to treat me really badly, but pay you reasonably so that you don't moan about it. Bellator's awful. Bellator's awful for a lot of reasons. But I'm at a position in my career where, when I'm not injured like I am now, I can command a good fee. And sometimes the money is better and easier to come by as a free agent rather than just sign up to one company.
That's quite interesting what you said. Bellator treats you horribly, because most people, they say Bellator has better pay, which it probably does, and they treat you better than the UFC. What was your experience with Bellator to make it so bad?
Well, I'll just give you a start to finish really short version, and I won't even give you any opinions. You can just make of it what you will. Cool. So I got offered the Matt Mitrione fight in London on 3 weeks' notice. Basically, here's the deal: I'm gonna fight Matt Mitrione, like main event or co-main event in like 3 weeks. I wasn't in my best shape, but I was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. The money's okay. Let's do it. So I fought Matt, and Scott Coker at the end of the night said it was fight of the night. Loved it. Loved the fight. Said love what I did, and he only knew I got tired because of my camp and preparation. So great. I'm exclusive to them. Can't fight anywhere else, but I'm happy. I like it. Money's all right, and I like the promotion. Every month afterwards, I'm being told that we're arranging a fight. I wait 8.5 months to get another fight.
They kept telling you they'll arrange you one, but you had to wait
Just
8
I'm
months.
waiting. So I wait 8.5 months on an exclusive contract, so I can't fight anywhere else. 8.5 months. That's my job. That's all I can. That's what I do. 8.5 months. So the 8.5 months passes, and then when people go into Bellator, if you look at Bellator, a lot of the guys they get their intro fight.
Hmm.
Do you know what intro fight would? What I
It
mean?
would be like your first fight there, or show off fight, showcase.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But you're matched up in a way. That's why I call it intro fight. You get your nice first fight to get you into the company. Not easy, but a reasonably nice fight.
You should win, sort of fight.
Yeah, you're supposed to win. You still got to earn it, but you got to win. Yeah, nice fight. So obviously, Mitrione on 3 weeks' notice. At the time, he was winning these fights. It wasn't one of them fights because it was late notice. So you'd think I'm waiting for 8.5 months. I thought I'm going to get my nice fight. I had a few people I thought I might get, and then and also I've been very specific with them that I'm not fighting Congo. Spent time with him. I just would rather not. I don't mind it because we're not like mega close, but we're all right. We're cool. And I'd rather there's plenty of names, and also he's one of the top guys. Like build me up a little bit. So anyway, they made the call to me, Congo. I said no. I don't. My first thing, no, I don't want to fight Congo. No, I don't want to fight Congo. Give me a better fight. Give me a better fight. But also I'm a little bit worried because I need to fight. I haven't earned money for a long time. So then basically, they basically tell Congo, they lie to Congo. They tell Congo that I've already agreed and signed the fight. So he's probably all pissed off about it and like raging about it. And because of that, he signs the fight. He signs the fight with me. And then they come back to me like, well, you can't. You're saying no, like you wouldn't fight Congo. Congo's already done his deal and agreed to deal. He'll fight you. And I'm like, okay, well, if Congo really wants to do it, then obviously we're not what I thought we were. So, all right, let's do it. And I went and fought Congo. So I went and fought Congo, and I've told this story quite a few times, but you may have missed it. So went out to San Jose. I was in great shape. Physically, I was in great shape. I was in one of the best shapes of my life. The morning of in the contract for the Congo fight, I don't know why, but there was a Fedor Mitrione was the main event. The contract had me. They asked me, oh, so you are reserved for the main event. So if someone pulls out, you go to the main event.
Who was the main event that card?
Fedor Mitrione.
Oh, Fedor Mitrione.
Yeah,
Grand Prix.
That wasn't the Grand Prix. No, that was the first time I went to fight. It didn't happen.
Oh yeah, no, that was New York.
Yeah, so it didn't happen. So I was basically the reserve to step in if one of them got injured. But obviously that doesn't usually happen. So I knew it was remote chance. And also there was more money. I get more money if I step in as well. So I was like, okay. They knew that me and Fedor would have been fun because we both just trashed it out for as long as we needed to. It would have been a good visual. So that's not going to happen in my mind. And then morning of the fight, I got to breakfast. And Rich Chow, the matchmaker, is sitting at breakfast. And he keeps on looking over and he's talking to me. I was like, you all right, Rich? And he says, yeah. He said, you spoke to your manager this morning? I said, no, because he was in the hotel. So my manager was in the hotel. I said, no. He goes, oh, you need to speak to him. I was like, do I? Why? Why don't you speak to him? He said, tell you what, come over here, speak to me in private. So I went and spoke to him and my manager came down. Basically, Mitrione's got kidney stones. He's out. I'm now fighting Fedor Emelianenko in the main event. And I'm getting a mind-blowing amount of money, 5 times my purse. 5 times my purse. The money obviously is like a life changer for me and my family. And also the opportunity to fight the main event against Fedor would have been in great shape. I'd have been very, very excited. And I'm not fighting my old friends as well. It was a great thing. I said, you can't tell anyone yet, but you're fighting Fedor. It's done. You're fighting Fedor. Rich Chow, my manager, all agreed it. Yeah, we're just making the contract up. Go to your room, get ready when we go to the arena later on. don't tell anybody because we're gonna release it, we're gonna reveal it. They don't tell anyone because they don't want people like not buying tickets, so they're sneaky like that, but that's just normal. So I'm fighting Fedor, time, hours passing, I'm in the room with my coaches, we're celebrating, good times, you know, I'm gonna look after you guys, I'm got money now, I'm fighting Fedor, this is gonna be amazing. Congo might get a new opponent, we might just get paid to go home, cool, good, he gets paid still. And then just before we get the transport to the venue, I get a call to my room from my manager. He says, bad news. I said, what bad news? There's no bad news, this is a good day, this is a really good day. He says, you're not fighting Fedor anymore. I said, what do you mean I'm not fighting Fedor anymore? I just told my family on the phone I'm fighting Fedor. And Bo said, nah, Fedor's decided he doesn't want to fight you, he's just gonna go, he's gonna just get paid and go home. I said, well, what's happening then? What's happening then? He said, you got to fight Congo now. I said, no, this is a mess. My mind's messed up now. I said, but I'm still getting the money, right? I said, no, you're getting the original money now. Down one.
So they promised you your original. They promised you a new pay, and then they just brought you right back and gave you back your opponent.
Changed my life for about 6 hours and changed it back.
That's a violation.
On the day of a fight.
How many hours before was this?
He told me, and then maybe like a few hours before the fight, before we left the venue, they told me he's off. So we were in the rooms for hours. I told my family when we were celebrating, life was good. So then, and basically, it's not my responsibility to check that Fedor wants to do this. It's theirs. Don't tell me until he's in. You know, that's not my job. It's your job. Don't tell me unless you're 100% definite, because you mess my fight. I'm fighting the biggest fight of my life, and you're going to mess with my head. And I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to fight now. I was like, I don't want to fight. But the thing is, Bellator have left me on the sidelines for 8.5 months. I now need to fight because I now have bills to pay that I owe money on. I now am in a bad situation, so I have to agree to fight. Got to the venue. I didn't even talk to my coaches. We barely spoke before the fight. From getting to the venue for like 3 hours to the fight, wherever it was, we barely spoke. Literally, there was no vibe, no atmosphere. We barely spoke. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to fight anybody. If I could go back now, even though I needed the money, I would just go home. I'd just get on the flight and go home. I wouldn't fight. I'd say screw you and go. But I needed it. They had me in a position where I needed it. That was powerful for them to get me in that position as well. I don't know if that's planned, but you know, that's clever. Makes you
very
weak.
Smart for them.
Yeah. So basically, I end up fighting. I got to the venue. Rich Chow was there, and he's like, "You all right, Oli? You all right, Oli?" I said, "No." So, what do you mean? I said, "I don't want to fight. I've got no interest in fighting tonight. I don't want to fight tonight." So come on. I said, "No, I don't want to fight tonight." He said, "Bullshit, I don't want to fight." So I went out and thought, you can watch the fight, and it's not a good performance by me. What you can see in the fight is a person who's completely unswitched on, unfocused, but also very physically fit. Because I took a pounding for 15 minutes, 17 minutes on my back, and was fit as a fiddle at the end, but just bruised up and cut up from Congo just being on top of me. He couldn't stop me. And I wobbled him first round with a big left hook and didn't jump on him. I had nothing in my mentally. I had nothing to give. Much like my second fight in the UFC with Phil, and for different reasons. And so yeah, that was obviously really bad treatment and behaviour by Bellator there. But it doesn't end there, because after that happened, I was thinking, basically they had London a month or 2 months afterwards, and the idea was I might fight in London, maybe Bobby Lashley, something like that in London. Obviously, they ended up taking me off of London and putting Congo in London, and I was basically like, I need to get out and get a win and get back on get my career moving again. It's a bad experience. I'm still with Bellator. I'm still stuck with them. I'm still contracted to them. And we were asking for fights, my manager and me, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, not yet. Wait, make us wait." And they made us wait for, I think it was 3 months, I believe. Then they released me. Like, if you're releasing me, just release me after the fight.
Mm.
But you know what they were doing, don't you? What do you think they could have been doing there?
Maybe they were using you, or in my opinion, maybe because Matt Mitrione and Chet Congo, they were using you because they're top contenders. They maybe wanted you just to lose, pay you, and then sort of get rid of you after giving you 2 big fights.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. That's definitely a point. But I don't mind that. I don't mind hard fights. But what they were doing in that 3 months is they were still my employers. So I couldn't reveal what they did with Fedor and Mitrione. I couldn't reveal that Fedor walked away and chose not to. Everyone was like, "Oh, poor Fedor." It wasn't poor Fedor. He chose not to fight. He chose not to fight for the fans, and the Bellator went along with it. And they messed me about. Basically, while I was still on the contract for 3 months, I couldn't talk about it because I would. It's my employers. I would spoil my relationship even further. So I didn't. I kept the story to myself. And what in that 3 months, they didn't release me until Fedor and Mitrione fought for real. Because if I reveal the story, it kills the interest a little bit. Because it kills it. It's not the heroic story of the Great Russian anymore. You know. So even though he's an amazing guy, you know, fighter, but and it's up to him, but it's not the same. So basically, they just kept me on the contract, not making any money, just to protect their own dirty little secret. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think I get. They kept you on because Matt Mitchell and Fedor was happening, and if you go, "Oh, he refused to fight me on this date," so I think it'll just spoil it a bit. It'll be like he didn't want to fight. He ain't heroic.
Exactly. And also, my story doesn't paint Bellator in a good light. But
they used you basically.
Yeah, and like any story, the older the story is, the less people care about it. So once I told the story 3 months later, it wasn't as important and as relevant anymore. So that's what I did. That's what I did.
So we've spoke a lot on your past and your career. We're gonna probably wrap up soon. But what do you see going forward? Do you see anything you want to do in your career? And what do you feel you're gonna achieve?
I mean, short term, I see myself defending my FEM title in Poland that I've got. They've been waiting for me really patiently for over like a year and a half almost soon because of my injury. So I really appreciate them, and I'm going to repay them by defending it and hopefully get another knockout. I think we're rematching against Simon Bayor again. So that should be fun because tough opponent on a good run of form. Like I said, I want to go to Tokyo. I'd love to go and fight in Rising in Tokyo. Maybe New Year's Eve Grand Prix would be amazing.
Rising on one of them.
I would love it. Rising would be the one in a ring. I love fighting in a ring. The head stomps and everything is always exciting.
Is that exciting for you to be stomping on them, or?
Well, I haven't stomped on anybody, to be honest with you, because it's hard to do. You don't train.
It's always looked to me. It looks, I don't know. It looks so scary, like getting someone jumping on your head.
Yeah, I mean, no one's jumped on my head. I haven't jumped on anyone's head. It's just exciting. The atmosphere that there could be this level of violence is different tension. So you're going to Japan, but as far as my sort of realistic current is defending my FEM title and definitely getting out to UAE and fighting, get out in UAE maybe later this year.
So anything you want to? We've had a really good talk here. Anything you want to say to your fans before we wrap up?
Just not too much. I mean, we've covered most things. Just thanks for being patient. I've been out for a while, just recovering from a really bad ACL injury. I'm coming back, and I'm far from done yet. So don't doubt me, because I'll be back stronger than ever.
You want to shout out your socials before we wrap up?
Yeah, just mainly my Instagram is at Oli Thompson, OLITHOMPSON_FIT. That's my Twitter as well. Get on board, because we're going to have a lot of content coming soon, and including promotion for some upcoming fights I can't talk about yet, as well as just talking the combat sports in general and life in general. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for this talk. 100% we're going to get you back on in a few months' time.
Cool.
And yeah, thank you, mate.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. Speak soon.
Bye, mate.